Note, this is not the full film of Princess Mononoke. Rather, this is a review of the English dub of Princess Mononoke. The full film is available for streaming on Max, and the Blu-ray and DVD can be purchased at the Crunchyroll store or wherever anime home video is sold. Please support the official release. Sincerely, the Dub Talk Podcast.
Warning, the Dub Talk podcast contains language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. There will also be spoilers for various anime throughout the course of this episode. Please use caution in case we discuss a series that you haven't finished yet. Finally, the opinions expressed are those of the individual participants and may not reflect the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. Enjoy the show. Hello, one and all, and welcome to Dub Talk and the premiere of Season 8 of Summer at the Movies. My name is Stephanie, and this year I'm joined by Hardy.
Hello, everyone.
Hardy.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
You realize, it's been almost 10 years, and you brought this realization to me when we were planning out some of the movies. You and I haven't done an episode solo before.
No, we have not. No, we have not.
What was it? We were chatting a few months back, I think, when we were talking Dubby stuff, and you're just like, hey, Steph, I know we're not talking about some of the movies yet, but I came to this realization. Do you want to do some of the movies together this year? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's the first time for both of us, I think.
Yeah, and then I know I threw a suggestion of an episode at some point, but that's for later because I love torturing myself.
Oh no.
And apparently we went over this because I told you about this. I was re-listening to some of the old episodes of the podcast at work.
We had a bet going on and we both lost.
And long story short, we may be revisiting one of the shows that one of us was forced to watch.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Stay tuned. Anyway, though, this year at some of the... Wow, I can talk today. This year, some of the movies will be taking you on a wild ride full of adventure, sports, and heartfelt goodbyes. But today, we're going to be starting the season off with a bang. We get to have some Ghibli time with I think if I remember right, for both of us, one of our favorite Ghibli movies.
Yes, it's a movie I have not watched. I think it's one of your favorites,
and me too.
Yeah, I haven't watched this movie in over 2 decades, so it was nice going and revisiting it again.
No, I think it's been at least, for me, it has to at least be 10 years maybe for me. It's been a hot minute. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about 1999's Princess Mononoke. If you haven't heard of this film before, first of all, where have you been for the last 25 years? This film is 25 years old, and it's actually one of the most well-known of the Ghibli catalog.
Actually, in Japanese, it came out in 97, so it's 27 years old.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
The dub was 1999. That would make sense then.
Right. This
sense.
movie is old enough to rent a car and then some.
Rent a car. It's old enough to drink. It's old enough to be enlisted in a draft. My cat is in the kitchen playing with toys. He's making a ruckus. But anyway, all right. If you for some reason haven't heard of this film before, we'll give you a little summary. Hardy, could you please give us a quick little summary of what this film is about?
All right. From ANN, it says, while fighting to save his village from the attack of a demon god, Ashitaka comes in contact with it and is inflicted with a deadly curse. In his search for a cure, he is forced to leave his village forever and journey to the forest inhabited by animal gods. There he finds himself in the middle of a war between the forest gods and a village led by Lady Ibushi.
Yeah.
And then there's also this little girl who was raised by wolves, so she comes into... She plays a kind of an important part, considering the movie's named after her.
She is, and oh my god, my cat is going crackhead, sorry. My cat's decided to play. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon right now when we're recording this.
He's having fun. Anyway, no, it's revisiting this movie. I'm just gonna say was very interesting, especially because I think one of the biggest things with Princess Mononoke, and can sometimes be a bone of contention for some folks, is how preachy it gets about the environment at times.
Oh yes, that's
Um,
that's the thing with Miyazaki's films.
yeah, like he always centers around something, and in this case, it's environment and humanity's hands causing like destruction. Which, given we're in 2024, where climate change is a massive topic, it's still the movie's very poignant even now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so as per usual, we're gonna go through the cast and characters, the staff, and talk about the English dub of this old film. I think since the movie was 1997, because BTVA has it listed as 1998, so I'm gonna assume that's when the dub was released, was in 1999, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So this dub is at least 25 years old.
Yes. No, the first time I watched this film, I actually rented it from Blockbuster on a VHS tape. That's how old it is.
Shit, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It would be around the time when VHSs were still a thing. The version I have, I told you about this, because the version you have the newer Blu-ray release from G Kids, right?
Yes. Which is stunning, by the way.
I'm jealous because I have the fucking the old Disney DVD version of it
From 2001?
and that's how I watched it. From the 2010s.
Oh wow!
Because one of the trailers on my set was fucking for Brave.
Oh nice.
The theatrical releases for Brave. I'm like, all right, that's funny. But no, my release is from the early 2010s, I think, because Brave was 2012. So I found that hilarious. But yeah, we're gonna be going through and talking about stuff.
Yeah, this is
Yay!
probably one of the older movies we're revisiting, up there close to Akira, which was in the 80s, so...
Yeah, I think... Yeah, this is one of the oldest films that we've ever covered for some of the movies, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. This is not including, though, any of, like, some of the movie OVAs, I don't think, because I know...
Yeah. We're kind of cheating tradition.
After that.
We are kind of cheating tradition, by... not doing Ghibli as an OVA. We are sort of, it came up and I wanted to cover it, so Steph and I decided, you know what, screw it, we're just gonna take it.
It's like, this is ours, goodbye. I think in terms of covering the movies general, if we are including the OVAs, the only one I think that precedes this would be Kiki.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the three oldest would be Akira, Kiki, and then now Princess Mononoke. Yeah. Fun times.
Had by all.
We should probably get...
Yes.
Fun times had by all. It's, what we say before recording this, it's gonna be a hootenanny.
Mm-hmm. And a hollering.
A hootenanny. And a hollering and a hootenanny and a hollering. Alright, we should probably get started. Do we want to start with the ADR staff on this?
Yes, please.
Why don't you introduce the staff? Because I learned fun things while doing this.
All right.
You were like, I need you to see who's on writing this.
Okay, so this is very interesting as far as voice direction is concerned. For our director, we have Jack Fletcher. Now, he goes way back into old school anime. He directed old dubs like Ninja Scroll and Aeon Flux, and he also did a couple other Ghibli films. He did Kiki's Delivery Service, and what was the other one?
Was it Castle in the Sky?
Yes, Castle in the Sky. That one had Anna Paquin and Mark Hamill in it, I believe.
Yes.
But yeah, his most noteworthy direction as far as anime is concerned is he did the early Tenchi Muyo dub. A lot of the OVAs for that. And he has largely shifted into more video games these days. His most recent, I think, was Mario and Sonic at the 2020 games. So...
Oh, that's nice. That's good. That's fun.
Right. Now, as for the adaptation or the script adaptation, this one blew my mind. For a writer, we have Neil Gaiman. If you do not know who that is.
I'm gonna say this before you go into some credits.
Mhm.
I was like, I heard the name. I couldn't tell you what he did. But Hardy was like, when you get to looking at his credits though, Steph, you need to look at his credits. So, what has he done?
He wrote the Sandman comics. He also wrote Coraline and Good Omens and Beowulf. And he's considered up there with fantasy writers as prominent as J.R.R. Tolkien and Terry Pratchett. So he's a big name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we say Beowulf, he wrote the script for the movie Beowulf.
Right. So
not necessarily the actual book, I don't think. But he's also, I also saw he did writing on a couple of Doctor Who specials as well.
Right. And so his involvement with this project wasn't even revealed until 2019. So
that late?
Yeah.
Holy shit! I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, he just recently got credited on the G Kids Blu-ray. It's fun. It's amazing.
Wow, I wasn't paying attention on my DVD set to see who is listed as part of the adaptation.
Yeah.
Because again, my set's from like early 2010s. That's interesting.
Well, yeah. So
I wonder why he would have said it now.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman's a big deal. So, but anyways, what did we think of this direction? Because I have my opinions and you have yours.
For a dub that's like 25 years old, I think for the most part it still holds up rather well. I don't really have any issues with the writing, first and foremost.
Yeah.
A lot of the writing seems pretty straightforward from the Japanese side of it, but you can tell that there is a little bit of a flair and a style to it with Neil Gaiman being at the helm of this, which makes sense because he is primarily a fantasy writer of sorts. So it makes it much more accessible to a North American audience because of that. Directing wise, though, there are some interesting choices, I think. Some of which don't 100% stand, work 100% well, even by today's standards. Because I think some of the line reads and the direction on those can sometimes be stiff. I mostly have this issue, I think, primarily with Ashitaka, of all people. And then there are some interesting creative choices in terms of the casting that were taken. For instance, Lady Eboshi, when we get to her, she's performed by a British actress, and she keeps the accent for Lady Eboshi, which is a very interesting choice, and we'll talk more about that, I think, in a bit when we get to Lady Eboshi. But I would say for the most part, the writing and the direction hold up still very well, but there you can kind of see, at least on the directing side, I think, some of the flaws with early a direction like this, because this is in the late 90s when anime is starting to kind of get more of a groove, and especially in the English dubbing space, because this dub predates Bebop, which of course is the one that's credited as the turning point in the English dubbing space, if I remember right.
Well, Bebop in Japanese was 98, so I don't
So Bebop
exactly...
was like early 2000s, probably?
Probably closer to 99, so... Yeah, this was around the time...
around that same time.
This was around the time to where dubs were starting to get really good. And I think the problem with this dub in particular is stunt casting, because they're grabbing a lot of celebrities who were big names at the time and just kind of shoehorning them into here where normally they really don't have a place. They're just getting big names for the sake of drawing in box office numbers, and which is ironic.
With the exception of a few, including one that we're going to talk about more in depth, and then two that we're going to talk about in passing, I think.
Right.
Because those three people are more well known in the voice acting realm, compared to the remainder. However, there are a few others, like Lady Eboshi again. As I was looking up credits last night, I noticed she was in another Disney movie, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah, no. I think if you can definitely tell that more time, you get a better quality effort from the actors who are seasoned voice actors than you
Mhm.
do from the celebrities. And
Yes.
well, I'll break down what as we go on who did better and who didn't do so well.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
think it's the dub itself is definitely still listenable. There's nothing inherently
Mhm.
bad about it. It's just it comes across as awkward at a few spots. So
Yeah.
but it's a 25-year-old dub. I mean, it is what it is. I definitely think that Ghibli dubs got better as they went along, but I still kind of think that for the most part, Ghibli dubs in general have a tendency to suffer from stunt casting because they want to get those big name celebrities in, and sometimes they just don't work. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
and again, yeah, and again, like, because I already mentioned how I thought some of the direction with Ashitaka can kind of be sometimes stiff and stilted, with his line reads in particular, and we'll get more into that. But again, we're also talking about 25-year-old dub, where it's from a historical standpoint is right along the cusp of when English dubs in North America started like actually giving a shit more about production value.
Yeah, because this came out around
Um,
the same time
so
as like your Bebops and your Outlaw Stars and your
mhm,
Dragons and your Who'sy
right,
What's It and Whatchamacallits and everything like that. So
who's its and what's its galore. You want
yes,
thingamabobs? I got 20.
nice. So
Disney.
it is an old dub. It is definitely still listenable. There's nothing inherently awful about it. But
Mhm.
if it was recorded in modern times, I could definitely see it being better. Now, watching Jack Fletcher's direction in video games go along, he definitely got better over the years.
Mhm.
So we'll yeah we'll talk about it when we get into our next section a little bit
Yeah.
as he pulls in his
Yeah.
connections.
Oh yeah. We have a lot of fun with
Mhm.
this dub, honestly.
Yeah. And
Um
of course, the writing, it's
but no.
Neil Gaiman. I mean, how do you pull in something like that?
Right? Right? Like, holy
Yeah.
shit. So, like, I think the writing alone, I think, is one of the most standout pieces that still holds up very well, and especially because, again, like we were saying in the beginning, one of the major themes of the film itself is environmentalism and humanity's hand in the destruction of it, or
Yeah.
the preservation of it,
Mhm.
and it can get very preachy at times. I think Neil Gaiman's adaptation of the writing on this is handles those pieces very, very well, and still allows it to have the fantastical elements of it, because you're dealing with animal gods, you're dealing that can talk, you're dealing with um these different forest spirits and these interesting little creatures, to which the art style of the movie is still, even though I had the DVD quality and you had the Blu-ray, I didn't get to see how stunning the Blu-ray render is, and I wish I could, because I, even without that, the animation style and the art for it is still fucking gorgeous, dude.
Hmm.
It is stunning. I told you this yesterday, I can only imagine how
It
phenomenal
does
like
not
the
look like a
Blu-ray upscale
27-year-old
is.
film. It looks brand new. I was amazed by the restoration job that G Kids did for it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
G Kids, they got that Oscar money now, man. Holy hell.
Hmm.
Just saying. To which, congratulations to the boy and the heron.
Yeah.
Well deserved. And I want to talk about that dub one of these days, because motherfucker, I was a girl in high school who was a fan of the Twilight franchise. I want to fucking talk about Robert Pattinson in that goddamn movie, okay? I'm like, I better be on that or I'm gonna riot. Just saying.
All right.
Do we have anything else about the direction writing, or you want to just start talking about these performances and characters?
I want to start talking about our first trio of minor characters. I know we didn't originally plan on covering them, but I think that they do deserve a mention. Um,
Yeah, quick little mention, brief passing. Oh
uh,
God, we have. I didn't put credits in for any of them. That's the only drawback.
well, I
um.
researched them a bit before we started recording, so I can say a few things. First of all, we have Lady Eboshi's second-hand man, and we have Gonza. We also have the Koraku. What is his job again? I forget. He was the
He's. He's a. He deals with the ox
yes.
or something.
He handles the ox. He's the ox handler, and he's one of
Ox
two.
handler, yeah.
He's one of two men who get injured at the beginning of the movie and are brought and rescued by Ashitaka and brought back to Irontown. We also have his wife, Toki. Now,
Oh, Toki.
yes, Gonza is played by John DiMaggio. He mainly focuses on Western animation and video games. You know him best as Bender from Futurama, Jake the dog from Adventure Time, and in video games you know him as Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War and Waka and Kamari in Final Fantasy X and X-2.
I forgot he's Marcus in Gears of War.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that.
John DeMita has a quite extensive resume of anime. He mainly focuses in background roles, but you could hear him. You could hear him most recently in the dub for One Punch Man as Bang/Silverfang.
Right. God, it's been a minute since I've watched freaking
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man. I haven't even touched season 3. I don't think.
Mm-hmm. And playing Toki is our first celebrity role, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a wild one.
Yes, she has mostly live action roles. Obviously, she is the wife of Will Smith, and but she has some voiceover roles under her belt, mainly Gloria in the Madagascar series, and she also voiced her character in the 2 Matrix games, Enter the Matrix. Well, she voiced her character in Enter the Matrix, and so here's where my opinions start to alter things.
Oh boy, were you not a fan of Toki?
Not very much, no. Not so much that
interesting.
It's not so much that it's Jada Pinkett's fault. It's just her voice doesn't really match the character. I don't know, and it's
It's interesting you say that, because there were moments throughout the whole course of the film, and I even wrote a note down. I know we weren't originally going to discuss them. We were only going to maybe do them in passing.
Mhm.
It sounded like it had twinges of like a New York or Brooklyn accent at times with some of her line reads.
Yeah, that's another thing we're gonna visiting is that so many of these characters who are supposed to be Japanese are speaking with these Americanized accents, and it's not really done on purpose, because they pull out they cast these actors who just naturally have these accents and just say, hey, say this into the microphone. Right. That's the issue I have with a lot of stunt casting with celebrities, is that they're just using them to try to, pull in box office numbers. It's like, oh, this person is in this movie, so I want to see them. Whereas with John DiMaggio and John DeMita, they have actual experience in voiceover. They've been doing it for years. And so they sound really good, especially John DiMaggio. I think he's probably arguably one of the best actors in the entire dub, because he has actual experience. And John DeMita as Koraku, he has a smaller role. He just kind of, plays the coward for a bit in the beginning and then just kind of disappears until near the end. But even he sounds more experienced than most of the rest of the cast.
Right.
Whereas you pull in Jada Pinkett Smith, it's just, okay, she's here. You can listen to her, whatever.
Yeah. I will give Jada credit though.
Mhm.
She did definitely have the attitude for a character like Toki, because one of the more important pieces of her, not only her character but the women of Irontown, essentially the ladies are in charge more so than the men. And the
Basically.
ladies are the ones who are manufacturing and getting this iron and smelting down, thank you, that's
Yeah.
the word. This iron and getting all of it prepped and all this fun stuff. They're the ones hard at work
Hmm.
in the factory, while the men are either,
They're the ones that got all the sass.
yeah,
Hmm.
they're the ones who work hard. They're the favorites for Lady Eboshi, and understandably so. And they are very loyal to Lady Eboshi too, because it's also stated a couple times in the film that Eboshi will buy out the contracts of some of these women from brothels.
Hmm.
So they become so loyal because she helped them get out of like this bad situation, and
Mm.
now they're very grateful and they'll do anything for her. So Toki, I think, to Jada's credit, has the attitude down. It's just a very interesting choice, I think, because of some of the line reads, and you can tell at this stage, because as you mentioned, there are a few voiceover roles that she's done since then, where there's been improvement on it, but you can tell that she's very green in terms of voiceover work, and it definitely shows with the slight New Yorker accent that comes through during the course of the film. That's the closest thing I can equate it to, because that's what I could hear in the vocals for her. And then both John DiMaggio and John DeMita are fucking legends, bro.
Hmm.
They're 2 out of 3 voice acting legends that are in this film. We're gonna get to the third one next.
Oh yeah.
And I would argue that third one is probably an even bigger legend than these two combined.
Oh, easily.
That's my opinion. But both of them, like, you're absolutely right. You can tell the difference between who the seasoned voice actors are versus the stunt casting and those who are not as well versed in the voice acting realm. I think both Johns did phenomenal as well here. I think Gonza was a lot of fun for me personally, because when I saw it was John DiMaggio, I'm just like, oh, Bender gets to be an asshole again. Awesome. I love when Bender's an asshole. This time he's an environmental asshole who just wants to be loyal to his lady and wants to kill a bitch. That's it. But no, it's very interesting, the comparison already that we have just with these 3 people alone. I don't know if you had anything else. We turned this into a whole section in of itself somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but we did.
Mhm. And we did it. We did it live.
Fuck it, we doing it live.
Hmm.
I guess, do we want to talk about the next section of characters?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about
At this stage?
the 2 gods. We have Moro, the wolf god, who looks after the forest. We have Okoto, the boar, who is trying to wage war against the humans with his army of hogs.
And mind you, Otoko and his group are also trying to take revenge on... Oh, what's his fucking name?
I think it's Koga?
Nago.
Nago. Right.
Nago.
Mm-hmm.
Nago, who is the boar that you see in the beginning and is the one that curses Ashitaka. In terms of who voices these 2, let's start with Moro. Moro is voiced by Emmy, Golden Globe, and SAG Award winner Gillian Anderson, who you would know for roles such as Dr. Miki Hokotu in another Ghibli film from Up on Poppy Hill, Margaret Thatcher in Netflix's The Crown, Sarah Merritt in The Last King of Scotland, and probably her most prominent known role would be as Dana Scully in the X-Files franchise. And then, speaking of voice acting legends, Okoto, we have the one and only Keith David voicing Okoto. You would know him as Ernie Bassett in Roadhouse, Dr. Facilier in The Princess and the Frog, something more recent, Husk from Has Been Hotel, David Anderson in Mass Effect, and of course, motherfucking Goliath from Gargoyles from back in the day.
You also recognize
Like-
him in several Navy advertisements. Navy,
Yes!
accelerate your life.
Does he do the Marine commercial too?
I don't know if he does
the
them.
the Marines. I don't think he does.
No.
He definitely does the Navy though.
Right.
He
No.
definitely does the one for the Navy.
And speaking of Keith
So-
David, in case you watched our recent Pluto episode, he is the voice of Dr. Tenma. Mhm.
Yes, you're right. You're right. So this is now the second time we get to talk about Keith David, which is a fucking delight.
Yes. If I had a nickel for every
good.
time I got to talk about Keith David on Dub Talk, I'd have 2 nickels.
We
but
would
it'd still
have
be
2
weird.
nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that's now happened twice.
Mhm.
It's so funny. Like, God, he's such a legend, though, dude.
As he
is
doesn't
a
really.
fucking legend.
He not only voices Okoto, but he has a few lines at the beginning as the unnamed narrator as well.
Yes.
To be noted. And he doesn't really... Okoto doesn't even speak all that much. He eventually loses his mind and completely loses the ability to speak. But in that brief moment where Keith David is talking, there are times... There are a few actors that I can say, honestly, that they could read a phone book to me, and it would sound like the most dramatic thing ever. And Keith David is one of them.
Oh, yep. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I agree with that. Dude, Goliath was my childhood.
Same here.
Fucking Goliath was my childhood. Oh my god, I never told this story when we were talking about Pluto. Back in the late 90s, because this was around the point when Gargoyles was a thing, at my dad's house. I don't know where we got it, and I don't think we have this anymore. Do you remember maybe, like, back in the day... Ooh, God, I feel old now saying that. When, you would sometimes have... When your version of interactive games, like interactive board games, was on a VHS tape,
Yes.
and the board game, there was a Gargoyles one that I was obsessed with playing. I don't think we have that game anymore, and I'm so sad about it. Now I want to know Gargoyles game. It's not the Sega Genesis one. It's oh, they remastered the Gargoyles game though for Nintendo Switch, and that makes me happy. Oh, Gargoyles game VHS. There it is. Gargoyles with interactive VCR board game VHS. That is the one.
Wow.
This is the one. Gargoyles the movie, I think, by the looks of it. Unless that's just a random... I don't remember. Or was it Wonder Forge? What's this one? I'm sorry, I'm just randomly looking for these. Oh no, this is something else entirely. But anyway, no, that was something I was obsessed with playing when I was a kid. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I had to share that quick story. No! What is there to really say about Keith David? Dude, like...
Man basically
he's
voiced our childhood.
phenomenal. Man voiced our childhood, and he is still fucking kicking ass even today. Like, I know we mentioned Pluto, but I also briefly mentioned Has Been Hotel. He is phenomenal in Has Been Hotel as Husk. Like, he's a fucking riot. You get to hear Keith David drop F-bombs quite a bit in that show.
Well, yeah,
It's
he's
fun.
made a career out of that. He's up there with Sam Jackson for dropping a whole bunch of F-bombs.
Like, I think the most prominent roles that I've ever heard Keith David in would definitely be Goliath. More recently would be Pluto and Has Been Hotel, but I remember the Mass Effect games. Captain Anderson. I think when I was in college, that was when I started playing the games, and that was just like... That was when I was introduced to actually who Keith David was. And then I also relearned not long after that. I'm like, wait, this is fucking Goliath! I completely forgot.
He was also Spawn in the HBO animated series. which he got to reprise in Mortal
shit.
Kombat.
Oh, no way!
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, we're just gushing over Keith David because we're like obsessed now. We're just obsessed.
Yes.
This man not only voiced our childhoods, but he's a goddamn legend.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Not to put
But,
Gillian Anderson down or anything. She's great too, but
no, she this I guess real quick, Keith David as Okoto was a lot of fun. Very, you can tell there was like some exhaustion to his portrayal because he's tired. He's an older god.
he's blind.
Who's also blind. Mm-hmm. So you can tell there's the exhaustion, the frustration, but also the sense of pride that he has for his clan, and it's a very fun and interesting portrayal of this boar god.
Kind of tragic,
But
very tragic as well.
It's very tragic. Like, one of the scenes that I think is very poignant is when, after Okoto and the rest of his clan try to take down Eboshi, and they all get fucking blown all to hell. San is taking Okoto to see the King of the Forest Spirits, and he's blind, but he starts smelling the scent of all of his comrades, but all of his comrades are dead, and the warriors are just using their skins to hide the scent of humans to trick him.
Yeah.
And it works. Yeah. And it just turns into such a sad moment for Okoto when he is just fooled, and then he succumbs to... Eventually it gets figured out, as both San and I think the other
Moro.
two other Moro cubs, they just are like, we ain't fooled by shit. They start ripping off the fucking boar skins, and then Okoto starts to succumb to becoming a demon himself, and it's very sad and very tragic. Because then by that point, that's the point where, like you mentioned earlier, he just succumbs so much that he does not have the ability to actually speak anymore. It's a very strong and poignant moment, and I think Keith David is he's phenomenal, and it's such a tragic character throughout the whole course of this. Gillian Anderson, though, to the same credit, while she at the point when this was made or produced, she didn't have a lot of like voice acting credits to her name at that point. I actually really liked what they did with Moro. First and foremost, you can tell that there's this kind of filter attached of some sort to Moro. But at the same time, and even then, there is... What Jillian brings to Moro is this kind of gravelly, growly voice to it, so that you can still get some of the... you can still get some of her
bestial
canine qualities to Moro. It's honestly, it's a very interesting touch. They do similar, I think, with the other Moro cubs as well. The filtering wise anyway, but I think I actually really like Jillian as Moro.
I appreciate how, even though she is animalistic and a beast, there's this sort of motherly quality to her when it comes to both San and her pups. Because, interesting enough, this was one of Jillian's first voice roles, but she has gone on to do a lot of extensive voice work since then. Both reprising voice roles for Scully in cameos and video games, and also doing a lot of audiobooks and narrations for short films. So, yeah, so this was probably one of her first, but she has definitely expanded since then. I think she's one of the better of the celebrities that got hired for this movie. It still comes across at times like she's reading from a script. But
Yeah, you can tell sometimes it's just a straight read rather than giving a little bit more emotion or emotive expression to the line. But I can also honestly appreciate what she did with the role too. It I find it very poignant, honestly, that throughout the whole course of it, while she has this disdain for humans, she also has this sympathy and a soft spot for them at times as well. Obviously, you can tell that most with San. And I think one of the more interesting scenes, which is not necessarily my favorite, but it does have some of the more rough portrayal of the role, I think, is when she's interacting with Ashitaka and telling her, like, what do you know? Like, you don't know anything about San. What are you gonna do for her? She was abandoned as a baby when I interacted with her parents. They got rid of her easily, thinking, "Oh, hey, I'll eat her, and they're gonna save themselves." And instead, I adopted her. Like, what do you know of the world? It's a very poignant scene, and I think it has some of the more rough portrayals, moments of the performance for Jillian, but I think it still comes across rather well. With the protective mother aspect.
Right. And she would go on to star in other Ghibli associated productions, both in From Up on Poppy Hill and later Ronya the Robber's Daughter. So.
Oh yeah. Because I saw the Poppy Hill one. I didn't see the
She was the narrator.
One. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like, I'm happy she definitely expanded, because you can tell, even though it was like a rough, like, early outing in the voice acting realm, you can tell that compared to some of the other stunt cast, you can tell she wanted to, like, put the work in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So some of it could be, for her at the end of the day, could be some of the direction on it, and maybe because she was still new to voice acting, and especially to dubbing, because that's another animal in of itself, let's be real.
And we're going to get more into that with our next two, and our next four, actually. Because...
Oh, boy.
Yeah. From here on out...
The next two?
Yeah, here on out, it's complete stunt casting.
Yup.
Yep. Our next two characters are Jigo, who is a traveling monk who's actually working for the Emperor and trying to get the Four Spirits' head, and is not... He's willing to do pretty much anything to get it. If it means betraying people, if it means, fighting the gods, he's kind of a shifty little character. He's also ugly.
Oh, isn't he? Ugh. Ugly. That's how you know he's evil. He's ugly as sin.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody's really evil in this movie. They're all just not they're just not good.
It's true. Yeah, nobody's like 100% inherently evil.
And
you can kind of tell that they don't have good intentions.
Right. And speaking of people who don't have good intentions, we have Lady Eboshi, who is the head of Irontown, and her goal is to kill all of the wildlife in the forest so that she can mine it for iron. She has good intentions. She personifies greed, basically.
Yeah, that's definitely something is for her, the personification of greed.
She's very much a bad person who does good things. So
yeah,
and
maybe not only greed, but like a sense of pride as well.
Exactly. So anyway, playing these characters, I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Oh lordy, Jigo is, I don't know.
Jigo is played by Academy and Gold Globe winner, Emmy-nominated Billy Bob Thornton.
This is an interesting one.
From the main character from Sling Blade. The main character, Willie, from Bad Santa.
Yep.
He was also Lorne Malvo in the Fargo TV series, Dan Truman in Armageddon, Hank Grotowski in Monsters Ball, among others. And playing Lady Eboshi, we have Emmy and Golden Globe nominee Minnie Driver, who she played Skylar in Good Will Hunting. She had a cameo in Goldeneye, and her other voice acting role was as Jane in Disney's Tarzan.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And boy, do I have opinions on these two.
Ooh.
They're not really long drawn out opinions. They're just opinions.
Opinions.
Yes.
I have a feeling you and I might have a little bit of arguments with Minnie. I'm getting the vibe that that's gonna be what happens here. So let's start with Billy. Why don't we start with Billy Bob Thornton on this?
He is completely, utterly miscast in this. I'd have no idea why they put him here.
It is interesting that Billy Bob Thornton gets to be put here as Jigo. Like, early on in the film, because we first see Jigo interact with Ashitaka a little bit, and the note I put down there for that early on scene was like, oh, he seems kind of gentle and also guiding. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but that's the vibe I'm getting. And then when we see him again, and when we start to see more of him again, that's where I'm like, okay, this is your deal? Huh. Okay. I'm confused. I'm confused by Billy Bob Thornton as Chico now. No, I was about to say, I was completely confused because, again, it's been at least 10 years since I've seen this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot that Jigo is actually the main reason why the plot is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the one who's like, I want the head of the Force Spirit for the Emperor. I forgot it was him who was the catalyst of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had stayed as, like, a sidekick, mentor kind of role to Ashitaka, I think Billy would have been okay. It would have been serviceable.
Mm.
But then when you get the actual motivations and I'm reminded of what this character is, I'm like, what? Then the performance makes no sense.
Yeah, I just want to know why this short, scrunkly monk from Japan sounds like he's from backwater Mississippi.
Oh,
and if we ever
God,
do,
we're saying?
If we ever do best of Summer at the Movies compilations,
That
one's for this episode.
Dude, this is the Patreon clip right here. What are you talking about? You forgot we have Patreon clips. This is it, bud.
I'm halfway expecting Jigo to put in some chaw and take a swig of moonshine.
Just sit on his back porch yelling at them kids to get off his lawn. Old man yelling at clouds. Sounding like a good old southern boy.
Get off my property.
Get off. I'll get my shotgun. My 2-barrel. My double barrel shotgun.
I'll pepper your
Threatening them
tailgate.
kids, get off my lawn. And this is why you and I need to do solo episodes more often. 10 years, boys and girls, and non-binary peeps. 10 years, and he and I have not done an episode, just the two of us. Long overdue. Shit. No, like, Billy Bob Thornton just confuses the shit out of me.
Yeah, and it's not
He
surprisingly,
really does.
I think to this day, this is his only voiceover role. Until just recently, he voiced himself, or a version of himself, in an episode of Harley Quinn. I think he has not done any other voice work since.
Well, at least with Harley Quinn, if that's the case, that's an easy one. Because
Right.
he just gets to play himself, really.
Yeah. He gets to play
That's
himself
not a hard thing to do.
before he gets eaten by a tiger in Catwoman's place, so.
Nice. He gets to play himself, and he also gets to do prelay and not dubbing.
Right.
So
Anyways, that's all I have to say.
He gets to have an easy time.
That's all I have to say.
I was confused.
Why does he sound like he's from backwaters Mississippi?
I love that so much. Shit. No, I think, like, I feel like this is, I can agree that this is maybe, like, a miscast here. Because if Billy was in a different role, potentially, I could see it working. Not only just, like, because, yes, he's 100% green in the voice acting space.
Right.
You could 100% see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not even up for debate. But I think, like, if you gave him a completely different role to play with, then he might be able to be a bit more of a serviceable performance. Again, in the beginning, I was like, I don't mind him as, like, being this guiding hand for Ashitaka. I'm actually kind of okay with that. It's a little rough in the beginning, sure. And then you get to the real reason why he's there, and it's like, what is this now? But, no, yeah.
So we're
But
ready to move on to Lady Eboshi and her
I
driving
think
performance?
oh my god. Are we fucking serious right now?
Stephanie, I'm almost 41. I have to have my dad jokes ready.
I hate you so much. Oh man. Hardy,
Mhm.
Hardy, I love you. You'll be in my heart no matter what they say. Okay.
So how about them apples?
Based on your hey, I feel like based on what your reaction was earlier, for some reason I think we have, like, you and I might actually have words. Like, you and I might have potentially opposite opinions, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm reading the vibe wrong.
I will say this: outside of Keith David, Minnie Driver is probably my pick for best performances from the celebrities here. And
okay, so we do have the same opinion. Minnie Driver is actually my favorite performance.
Yeah, because I think it's not so much her acting as much as it is her accent.
Yeah,
because she is the only one in the entire movie with a British accent and doesn't try to hide it or anything.
It's an interesting choice, really, and I don't think it affects the performance in a negative way, because, like, it gives Lady Eboshi more of this, like, regal, noble presence to her.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. In a sense,
compared to the rest. Yeah, it's in a sense compared to the rest of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think under normal circumstances, this is something that'd be a really weird choice that wouldn't work. But given the character of Lady Eboshi herself, I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough. Like, it's so interesting. I completely forgot that Eboshi's performance in the English had an English accent to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, huh. And then Lady Eboshi kicks a lot of ass.
Oh yeah.
I'm just fucking saying.
Yeah. She's like, not. She's kind of
Minnie,
evil, but she's pretty awesome too. So.
Oh no, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, Lady Eboshi knows what she fucking wants, and she's going to do what she can to get it. Mm-hmm. No ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it's not even funny. Like, she will fucking fight you for shit. Mm. And she has this. Minnie also has this air of confidence to her, that she brings out of Eboshi as well. Definitely one of the more memorable scenes would be one of the first, I think the second time we actually get to meet Eboshi, when Ashitaka talks to her. Mm-hmm. And this is when Ashitaka finds out how, what's his nuts? Nago. Mm-hmm. And he figures out how Nago came to his home village and how he ended up getting cursed was because of Lady Eboshi. So Ashitaka approaches her and is like, hey, I want to know how I can remove this curse, because this is your fucking fault that this is a thing right now. And he's also observing things, and what was the phrase that the old shaman woman said? He's seeing the world with eyes unclouded by hate. I think that's the line.
Yeah. Now that's
right.
I believe that's close enough, and that's on Neil Gaiman's writing right there. So
that is a very poignant line, right? And I love that line so much. Lady Eboshi is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what I've actually been up to. And she does this with such confidence. She brings them over to like this back room where all these lepers are
building guns,
making like actual rifles for her. And she's just like has this air of confidence. And I think she even says to Gonza, like, the only reason why she's telling him this is because, fuck it, I don't care if he knows. There's nothing he can do to stop me. You know what I mean? Minnie Driver has this confidence about her with Lady Eboshi. And I think it's that confidence in the performance that basically makes me forget about the accent and makes it the whole shebang work so fucking well that I love it so much, personally.
Yeah, that's all I really have to say before moving on to our two main protagonists.
It's very, like, so far in the conversation, it's been very interesting where we have, for the most part, with each of the sets of characters we've had at least a very good voice acting performance and a not so good one. Because you had, what was it? So we had both Johns versus Jada. You have Keith David versus Jillian, though Jillian's was still pretty good.
Right.
It's just you're going against Keith David at this point.
I mean, you can't spare.
And then
you can't win.
You're comparing apples to oranges.
Right.
And then you have Minnie and Billy Bob Thornton, and now we have Ashitaka and San.
Yeah.
Our two leads. So we have Ashitaka, who is the prince of this tribe from far in the east. He's our lead character, the one who's trying to see the world with eyes unclouded by hate. Because his ass got cursed when Nago just storms his village and he tries to defend his village because Nago has become a demon at this stage. He travels to the west to see what he can see, and maybe, if he's lucky, he's able to cure this deadly curse. Along the way, he meets San, the titular Princess Mononoke. She was abandoned as a child to wolves, in this case, the god Moro. And she is raised by Moro and is part of her family. And San hates the humans to no end. And she's one of the many advocates for helping save their home and the forest and protecting the forest spirit. So for these two, I'm going to start with Ashitaka. Ashitaka is voiced by Billy Crudup.
It's Crudup.
A Tony and Emmy... Crudup, my bad.
Yeah.
Crudup, who is a Tony and Emmy Award winner. He's the only Tony Award winner here, actually. It's very interesting. So you might have heard him or seen him in things such as Corey Ellison in The Morning Show, Eric McLeish in Spotlight. This is a deep cut for me, and I mentioned this to you yesterday. So he portrayed Lucky in the 2013 Broadway production of Waiting for Godot. I saw this production. No, not 2013. Oh, that might have been the West End. He portrayed Lucky in the Broadway production of Waiting for Godot, which I saw when it was on Broadway in like 2014?
Oh, wow.
2015, around then. And this is the one that starred Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, the show was phenomenal. And I'm gonna assume you've never read or seen the play Waiting for Godot.
I have not. Not yet, no.
So, first of all, it's very good. It's a darker comedy. It's a dark comedy from Samuel Beckett. He's a phenomenal playwright. The character. So, Waiting for Godot in general, the main story is these two men, are waiting for Godot. They're just sitting around waiting for Godot. Partway through, and they're just trying to pass the time while they wait for him. That's the main story of it.
Yeah.
Partway through, you get to meet Ponzo and Lucky. Ponzo is this rich, like, merchant kind of guy. Lucky is essentially his stupid attendant. Stupid attendant, stupid servant kind of deal. That's who Billy played in the show. And it's a 2-act play, and it takes place in 2 different days for each act. And the first act, Lucky is very, very stupid.
Right.
Very stupid, like, deaf, blind, all this fun stuff. And then the second act, Lucky has a bit more sense about him, and Ponzo's the one who ends up having it in a rough spot. So the roles kind of reverse a little bit.
Okay.
It's a very interesting play. I definitely recommend reading it sometime. But probably the other main role, or the main role
that he's known for
that he's known for, aside from his Emmy-winning role in the morning show, John Osterman, aka Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen.
Yep. Dr. Manhattan and his digital dong.
Yup. Surprise! As for San, our titular Princess Mononoke, we have Emmy and Golden Globe winner Claire Danes, who has been in roles such as Carrie Matheson in Homeland, Yvain in Stardust, which when I was writing these credits last night, I started with Ashitaka and Claire, Ashitaka and San, and then I went to directing and the writing at the end. I'm pretty sure Neil Gaiman wrote the book for Stardust, or the script for Stardust, ironically enough. So that's funny. Claire Danes is also Kelly Riker in The Rain Man, and probably aside from Homeland, probably one of her other main prominent roles would be Juliet in the Baz Luhrmann late 90s film Romeo and Juliet. Where we want to start with this?
Oh, boy. Billy Crudup does his best.
Oh, man.
Claire Danes should not voice act ever again. I'm sorry.
Oh, no!
It was not
Oh,
great.
no!
It wasn't great.
No.
I know she was only 20 at the time that they recorded this, but
a lot of the actors in this dub were in, like, their mid to late 20s by this point.
I know Billy was
like,
31.
I did some math. Yeah, I did some math. Billy was in his early 30s. I think Minnie was in her early 30s. Claire, I think, was in her late 20s, early 30s.
No, she was 20.
Oh, she was 20.
Yes, because she was born 1979. And what's kind of icky is that in around 2003 to 2006, she actually dated Billy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 11-year age difference.
Oh, God. She did... This is interesting, because I'm just looking up Claire now on Wikipedia for shits and giggles. So Romeo and Juliet was 96. The dub for Princess Mononoke was 99, so that's a 3-year difference right there. So that's very interesting.
She's not bad on screen. She's not bad on screen. She's just not really great behind the mic. It's just... I mean, I'm trying to give it due. I don't care for it. It just sounds very, very flat.
I don't think I had as much of an issue with it as you did. It's not my favorite performance. Not by a long shot, because, I mean, Minnie Driver exists. Minnie Driver and, of course, Keith fucking David.
Right.
Weirdly enough, I think I had more problems with Billy's Ashitaka rather than Claire's song. Weirdly enough. Because I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the directing and writing. There were moments for Ashitaka where the line reads that he had were very stiff and stilted.
Mm-hmm.
And a good chunk of Billy's performance is actually kind of quieted down. It's very hushed, very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
He does get these emotional, impactful moments where he gets to be more angry. But even then, it's like the emotion for those moments are maybe at like 50% compared to where they probably should be. Like, it's
Right.
dialed back a bit, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's very odd. I have more issues with Billy as Ashitaka rather than Claire as San. Claire's San to me. Oh god, what did I write down? I think her San is fairly serviceable, to be honest. Um, she has this strength about her, and also like a little bit of a sense of vulnerability during like the latter moments of the movie. It's not my favorite, and I think she does a little bit better than what Billy did with Ashitaka personally.
Hmm.
But we're also comparing apples to oranges and two actors who've probably never voice acted before in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very hard to discern like how well they can do, and it's even harder to discern whether or not these are performances that are worthy of these kind of lead roles, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, I hired up once again to stunt casting. They wanted some big names, and they just pulled whoever was interested and went with it. And the result is what it is. Um, I think that stunt casting in the days since has gotten better. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen as much anymore now that that Disney isn't dealing with Ghibli or anything anymore, and so you kind of have
Yeah.
a better result. It sort of goes back to Jack Fletcher's direction and him sort of moving out of anime and more into more Western productions and video games, as just not involving as many celebrity casting as before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because the celebrities aren't bad actors; they're just not voice actors. That's the thing. There's a
Right.
completely different.
Voice acting, right, it's a completely different animal in
Mhm.
of itself.
Yeah.
Um, I I will say this about Billy. It's very interesting. I'm looking over like his credits and filmography more a little bit. He only really started acting in films in like '96, so like 3 years prior to Princess Mononoke.
Mhm.
But he's been on stage a lot longer.
Right.
He started performing in theater in 1994, and I think like that might have a little bit of something to do with it, because stage performance is another completely different animal
Right.
compared to acting in film and TV and even voice acting. Because I'm just looking over his acting, like his stage credits. This man, a year before Princess Mononoke, was Oedipus.
Oh
He did the
God.
play Oedipus. And he was Oedipus. It looks like he also did his first his first stage role was, I guess, America Dreaming, and then he did Arcadia, Bus Stop, The Three Sisters, and then Oedipus, followed by, I guess, probably a few other films and things, and then he goes back to stage. He does a lot more stage work more frequently than he does TV and film.
Yeah, because
To
I
be
mean,
honest.
the last thing I can even remember him being in or ever seeing him in was Watchmen, and that was 2008. I haven't seen him in anything
Yeah.
since. But then again, I don't watch modern TV, so.
Right. His award-winning roles, his Emmys come from The Morning Show, and then where did he win his Tony? The Tony Award was for. He's been nominated and like won quite a few more stage roles rather than no, yep, I'm right. He won his Tony in 2007 for Best Featured Actor in a Play for The Cost of Utopia.
I see.
I guess you can maybe throw him in for Academy, because Spotlight won Academy Awards, I think, right?
I don't
right?
remember. I don't watch the Academy
So
Awards most of the time.
I mean, I kind of remember stuff. So that was 2016. Where's the award accolades received by Spotlight? Looking at shit because we can.
But anyways,
it won. It won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 2016.
Yeah. But anyways, stage is different from voice acting, so it's all just sort of.
So Billy has a difficult time, but in a different way than what Jada and Billy Bob Thornton have, and even Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Like Billy's issues are a bit more of a different animal because he's more established as a stage actor compared to
theater
and screen.
Right.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But no, between the two, I was Claire as San was serviceable, I guess.
When it came
Billy's was like just barely there.
When it came to Claire, it's mainly like when she's trying to be emotional and saying no. She comes across extremely flat. What I was reminded of actually was I was kind of reminded of Scarlett Johansson's performance in the SpongeBob movie and just how flat that turned out to be. Daddy, no.
Daddy, no. That's great. I love that.
But anyways, that's just my opinion. No. Who cares about me? So, yeah.
We're just two nerds on the internet. But no, I think as effectively the two leads, it's okay.
It's like I said. I think. Yeah, it's like I said earlier. It's not an offensive dub in any way. It's perfectly listenable.
No.
But if it had been recorded in this day and age, I think more care would have been put into it.
100%. Like you would have had much more dynamic performances for these roles, especially for San and Ashitaka.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. Because, I mean, we're still getting stunt casting using celebrities in this day and age, but I mean, from what I hear, I've heard nothing but good things about The Boy and the Heron, and especially Robert Pattinson. So...
Dude, I said this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
If and when we do an episode for Boy and the Heron, I will fucking fight people to be on that.
I think that's going to be you and Roots, pretty much.
Me and Patrick are just gonna be like fighting for shit to be on there, because maybe Andrew too, maybe not so much, but like I saw The Boy and the Heron earlier this year with Andrew, and fucking oh my god, Robert Pattinson. Do you know which character Robert Pattinson plays?
He's the Heron.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time the Heron is this like really short, big nose, like seemingly like really weird amalgamation of a character.
Mm-hmm.
And what Robert Pattinson does for that is like, holy shit! It's one of those you just have to like see and experience to believe. It's insane.
From what I hear,
thankfully, by the time this comes out, it'll be out on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yeah. From what I heard is that Robert Pattinson is actually pretty great in anything that's not Twilight.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, yeah, that's what I keep hearing too. Mm-hmm. Weirdly enough, I heard he's pretty good in the new Batman film. What else have I seen? I still need to watch The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
I own The Lighthouse. I've heard that him and
Willem Dafoe.
It's William Dafoe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard him and William Dafoe are fucking phenomenal in that film together. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to watch that movie. Like, Robert Pattinson, after getting away from Twilight, and remember, he was also Cedric Diggory in the Harry Potter franchise, too. After he got away from, like, the mainstream shit, he, like, blew up in a different way. Like, he just was he's phenomenal. And a lot more, like, indie projects where he gets to, like, actually, like, flex his acting muscles. And The Boy and the Heron is 100% one of those fun little challenging roles for him. Now I want to do Boy and the Heron. Again, as a fan of Twilight in high school, I need to talk about Robert Pattinson. Like, it's it's fucking unrecognizable. Like, legit.
But
anyway.
anyway, still,
We're
back
still
to
on
focus
Princess
around,
Mononoke.
back at Princess Mononoke. So, are we ready to move on to final thoughts?
Sure. What do you think of what are your thoughts on the dub?
Well, my thoughts on the movie are it's amazing and fantastic, and if you haven't watched it yet, you need to do so right now, whether that's buying the Blu-ray, which is phenomenal looking, or if you want to stream it on Max, that's fine too. But yeah, if you have not seen it, definitely rectify that. It is a classic for a reason. The dub, if you don't want to read subtitles, it's perfectly serviceable. That's how I usually watch it. It's not an offensive dub. It's not terrible. It just is a product of its time. You know, like I said, I originally rented this on VHS back in 1999 or so, when I would have been 16 years old, and now I'm almost 41. So that's how long it's been since I've seen this movie. Either the dub or sub, as long as you watch this movie, you need to experience it for once in your life. It's a bit long. It's about 2 hours and 15
2.5
minutes.
hours, I think.
It's about 2 hours, 15 minutes. And
yeah, 2.5 with credits, probably.
Yeah, but anyways, just once you have an afternoon available to yourself, sit down, watch Princess Mononoke, and prepare to be amazed.
Definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. I think there are still quite a few people that will sometimes refer to Princess Mononoke as one of Hayao Miyazaki's masterpieces, and I think that's still true even today. There are a few other films that I think kind of are almost to that point again, but for me, Princess Mononoke has always been a favorite. Yes, please go watch the film. I'm about to say, please go watch the show. I'm like, this is not a show. We're talking about movies again. Please go watch the movie, regardless of your language choice. You can do no wrong either way, because this film, 100%, you need to experience it. For sure. In terms of the dub, it's despite the circumstances of, like, where it was at 25 years ago when it was first dubbed, and again, from a historical context, this is around the point when English dubs for anime projects start to get more care and attention and production value. Even with all that in mind, I can agree that this dub is still serviceable even 25 years later. There are its good points. Like, you have, again, like Minnie Driver, Gillian Anderson, the legends, fucking Joe DiMaggio, Joe Demita, and fucking Keith David. But you also have some of its flaws. Both Billy Bob Thornton and Billy, I'm about to mispronounce the last name. Crudup, thank you. I almost said Crudup again. I'm like, that's not it. Crudup. Claire Danes, Jada Pinkett Smith. This is one of those examples where stunt casting, it does not go as perfectly as you expect. But definitely one of the highlights of the dub for this, 100%, is the adaptation from Neil Gaiman. He does a phenomenal job with this. Directing is hit or miss. Again, overall, it's a serviceable dub for a phenomenal movie. And I agree with you. If this was a dub that was produced today, a lot more care and attention would have been put into it, compared to what we had gotten. Though it's very interesting, because when we were talking about this too, I'm just remembering, because there are actually, I believe, 2 English dubs for My Neighbor Totoro, if I remember right. There's one from, oh god, there's one from, because Totoro was from the late 80s. And then, yep. So, there was a dub from 50th Street Films, late 80s, early 90s. And then there's also the one that the redub that Disney did in the mid 2000s. So, it's very... I've only known the one from the late 80s, early 90s because that's the one we had on VHS at my dad's house.
Yeah.
I don't recall ever listening to the Walt Disney one.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's
the Walt Disney is the one that has the Fanning sisters, Dakota and Elle, in it.
correct.
Yeah.
As Satsuki and May, compared to, I'm looking at the cast right now, Lisa Michelson and Cheryl Chase were those roles in the
Streamline.
in the 50th Street Films version.
Mhm.
In the Streamline, you're right, Streamline. I'm seeing Streamline. In the Streamline version, I personally, I'd be curious to see what the new one of Totoro sounds like. But anyway, I digress.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think a lot more care. If this was a dub that was produced now, a lot more care would be put into this. My only hope is if it would have been produced today, that Neil Gaiman just sticks on with the writing, because god damn it, that's a highlight for this dub for me. But yeah,
All right.
you definitely should go watch the film regardless of which language track you choose. It is fucking standard. It's not standard. It's mandatory watching if you're a fan of anime. 100%. Just saying. And from a historical context, especially if you're a Ghibli fan, definitely go watch this movie. If you want to go and watch this movie, how you can do so, there is the home video version right now from G-Kid, which is the one that Hardy has and we've mentioned a few times. It is also available for streaming on Max, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. And here's the funny thing. We are recording this on Sunday, June 16th, on Father's Day. Irony.
Yeah.
When we're releasing this, because we're starting it off some of the movies on Friday, July 13th. That's the plan, that when we're releasing this. Ghibli Fest is going to be going on, and Princess Mononoke will be in theaters for a limited time, July 13th through the 17th.
Nice.
So, if you get the chance, and if it's in a theater near you this weekend when this gets released, go and watch it. You can find more information about Ghibli Fest online at gkids.com/GhibliFest, and you can find available theaters that have it showing, and you can purchase tickets as well. Please go and watch this movie. Go give it some support. The irony of us releasing this around the same... Andrew pointed this out to me the other day, actually. That releasing wise, it's gonna be the same time as the new theatrical run for Ghibli Fest this year. I'm like, damn, we gotta mention that. Maybe it'll encourage some people to go and watch it. But yeah, that's go watch Princess Mononoke. It's mandatory viewing, guys.
Yep.
Just do it. If you're interested in anything that we here do at Dub Talk, of course, if you are currently watching us on YouTube, you can go ahead and subscribe to us here. We recently just had 300 episodes of the main podcast series. We've been here for so long. God damn. And I'm in the middle of editing 300 stuff that's actually coming out this week. Oh boy! But anyway, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also follow us on our audio platforms, those being Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Podbean. We have a plethora of social media, including Twitter. I'm not calling it by its other name. I will never call it by its other name. Instagram, Blue Sky. We are also on Twitch. If you want to support us in a completely different capacity, we do have a Ko-fi account for one-time donations, or if you want to support us in a more larger capacity, you can subscribe to our Patreon account, to which we do have some patrons to thank, because our wonderful patrons at some of our tiers do get fun little episode shoutouts, such as Marissa Lenti, Megan's mom and dad, Michelle Travis, Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Crimson Echidna, Quinoa Soup, and Otaku Anthony. Your continued support is always very much appreciated. We thank you guys very, very much. For anything that this goat man over here and I do, Mr. Master of Manliness, why don't you plug yourself?
I'm Spaceman Hardy at Spaceman Hardy on the website formerly known as Twitter. I'm also at Blue Sky at Spaceman Hardy, of course. I basically just retweet art and food pictures these days. It's the occasional rant and ramblings of a 40-year-old angry otaku nerd. But yeah, if you want to follow me and just see what comes out, then happy to see you.
Yeah. I have a question for you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm about to be disappointed by the answer. When was the last time you posted goat pictures?
I do not even remember.
I
So what
am
happened
disappointed.
was I went and Googled goat pictures and saved a bunch of funny ones to my laptop, and then my laptop broke down. So
Oh no!
so now, but they were able to back up
When was this? I forgot.
they were able to back up the majority of the hard drive. So I've got them all on a thumb drive, but the thumb drive is at work,
Yay!
so that's why I haven't.
Shit!
Yeah, so that's why.
You need note to self, Hardy, bring home the thumb drive for goat pics. Must post goat pics. I have been at work. I have been listening to old episodes of the podcast. You already know this because of the whole fucking bet thing from like almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
But I just get so sad every time I'm on an episode that you're on, and at the end you're talking about how you post goat pics, and I'm like, Hardy doesn't post goat pics anymore. I'm sad now. Anyway,
I will try to post more goat pics because goats are rad.
I miss the goat pics. Goats are fun. I love them. Anyways, for anything. If you want to follow me, my name is Stephanie. I'm sometimes also known as Lilac. You can follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok at Lilac Anime Review, with review being spelled R-E-V-U-E. I don't use Twitter and Blue Sky really often. I do doom scroll on TikTok quite frequently and post little videos there, primarily of either my cat, my adventures in theater, or just random bullshit. So you can go and follow me there if you want to have a fun random time nerding out. I think that's all we got for today. I hope y'all excited for this season of Summer at the Movies, because I believe next week we're taking a trip to Jibarita with the second Ernest and Celestine film. I think that was the plan for next week. I'm just looking at the chart we have.
Oh boy.
I'm excited. We're going to be revisiting Ernest and Celestine next week, so I hope you guys are excited, and I hope you are all excited for what's in store with Summer at the Movies this summer. 8 seasons, bro.
8 seasons, brah.
8 seasons of these. Bruh. Oh, man. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys for joining us and hanging out with us for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We're like about half the length of Princess Mononoke. But thank you guys again, and we'll catch you next time. So good night, everybody, and otaku on, my friends.
Keep it manly.